Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Successful Stylist Academy podcast. We are so excited to be here with you today. And before we get started, I know that your time and your attention is so valuable. And I just want to say thank you for hanging out and sharing some space with us today. If you've been following along, tuning in and joining us, thank you so much. And if you're new here, I am so glad that you are here and you are in luck today because I have a dear friend of mine, an expert in our industry joining us, Sherry Petenbrink.
I'm here. Hey, great to see you, Drea. I know, I feel like it's been too long.
It has definitely been too long, and I am so thankful and excited to have you on here. I know the information that you have to share is just invaluable. Um, have you guys ever
Thank you.
Yes. So, have you guys ever kind of been listening, looking, watching someone from afar, and you're just like, wow, I wish I just had the opportunity to hear from them, to know more about them, to know like what tools they use to go through their process and what makes them tick? Well, today you get to do that here with Sherry Petenbrink. And Sherry has had an amazing journey in our industry. Just myself alone working alongside you, Sherry, and knowing um, just your time and experience in working with companies, working behind the chair, building teams, leading teams, working on set, working with celebrities. I mean, I don't even know, like I could go on and on and on. So you guys, folks, turn it up, eliminate the distractions, because today we're going to be talking to Sherry. And our topic today is definitely near and dear to my heart. And I know you and I discussed this when we came up with this episode, and it's authenticity. And more importantly, it's authenticity and how it relates within the hair industry. So, Sherry, I want to jump right in because I want to hear a little bit about your story. I know a little bit about you, but our audience needs to know too. So, as I mentioned, you have had quite the journey in the beauty industry. And first, I just want to start like at the beginning. Like, what led you here? Share a little bit of your start with us in the hair industry.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Drea. We've had so many great experiences together. And, so yeah, together we've grown and we've had this amazing journey. And a lot of it we have spent together in a lot of our experiences. So I was just looking at pictures of our trip to Australia just 2 years ago and that big show and all of that. And it just kind of got me all like fired up again, and I thought, how blessed are we to have had those amazing opportunities. So I've been in the industry for almost 40 years. I attended beauty school, beauty college in South Dakota. My dad was in the Air Force for 20 years, and my mother's British. We traveled all over the place, and we settled there in a small town in Aberdeen, South Dakota, because that's where my dad had grown up. And I think my parents just felt like that would be a good place to finish raising us kids. So we basically went from Germany, big city life, to like small town farming, wheat fields and cornfields. So it was a huge transition, and it was in high school. So yeah, so it was very interesting, but it's when I realized that is probably truly that's when I realized that the hair industry is what I wanted to do. My mother had been a hairdresser in England prior to coming to the US, and she never really practiced hair once she moved here to the United States. But what she did do is a lot of wiglets and wigs and stuff for friends in the 70s. So growing up when we were still living in Europe, we would have styrofoam heads around the house start coming in on Thursday and Friday so she could get them all ready for everyone to wear on the weekends. All those hair, those beautiful enhancements, that were so popular, the falls and all of that in the 70s, as they are, or even 60s, late 60s, actually. So as they are becoming again. So my aunt also owned a hair salon. She was very well established in this small town. And I used to love to go visit her in her salon. I would sweep up hair, do whatever I could do to prolong my visits because it just seemed like such an amazing place to be. In those days the women were wearing roller sets. They were, the bulk of the clientele was this, and they would come in and that appointment was theirs. They looked forward to it all week, and they'd be under the dryer and they'd be chatting and sharing their weekly stories, and then they smoked in the salon. It was their chance to sit back and have a cigarette and coffee and stress-free time being pampered in the salon. And I just love the whole environment. It seemed like such a great place to call work, every day. My aunt was a bit of a comedian. She was always laughing, always joking, always in such high positive spirits, which is again going, this is what's going to lead into our authenticity, because she always stayed true to herself, my aunt. And when I would watch her and observe her in the salon, the things that she would do to even empower the other people that she worked with, or her clients, or anyone, even if they came in and they weren't feeling so great, they would always leave feeling like their best self, because she would turn that around either just by making their hair look amazing, or her jokes, her positivity. And I thought, this is what I want to do for a living. So I've spent the past almost 40 years, I've been an educator for 25. And I've just taken a journey on in so many different avenues of this industry, never letting myself get bored or complacent, and always looking for a new risk, a new challenge to just keep me passionate. Because again, that's another part of authenticity is, staying passionate about what you do and ensure it's rewarding to you.
So much there. I mean, I love listening to you talk about the salon, Sherry, because as you're talking about it, I'm like immediately there. I'm like in that time, I'm there in that salon. And it's a great reminder. We work in such an amazing atmosphere. I mean, almost anyone who comes in. I had a good friend of mine and my business manager from my old salon visit us for one episode, and she was like, the being in the salon and working in a salon is so amazing and so much fun. And it really does suck people in. And talking about your aunt, just, the power that we have in people's lives and how much more empowering that is when we are being authentic to our true selves is really amazing, really special, and a great, great reminder. You look amazing. When you say 40 years in the industry, it's just crazy to look at you and think about, but that's so awesome. I know that my journey, even just with you, has been special, and I've learned so much working with you and alongside you. So thank you for that. And I know you mentioned moving into authenticity. So, if we can just deep dive into that for a minute today, talking about that, why don't you share with us, like, just what authenticity means to you?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a pretty broad spectrum. Like really, I think people have their different of opinion of what that all actually means. And I can tell you now, like I have grown this past 2 years more in myself, my empowerment, and my authenticity. I think more than ever before, because so many of us had so much time to reflect on that and who we are, what we give, and are we truly authentic to ourselves all the time? And shouldn't we be, right? So with that said, I think of different words come to mind. Honesty, values, passion. You really have to let your soul guide you. Your gut has to be able to guide you. And if you have that instinctive feeling that things just aren't right and you need to step in or you need to rethink things, that's definitely, I think, a super important virtue when it comes to authenticity. I think being vulnerable and open hearted is also, compassion comes in. Boundaries are a big one too, because I haven't always practiced boundaries. I always thought that I just had to be the people pleaser and I just had to go along with the flow and do what people were telling me to do, because I wanted people to continue to want to hire me or work with me. Or and then you realize what they really wanted you for was your authenticity, not just for you to become something else, right? So all of those things, I feel like this year have been truly tested in a big way. um I think sometimes too with authenticity comes admitting your imperfections. That's another big one that I've had to work on. I've made some really, really tough decisions this year that I didn't make last year because I was worried last year that it was a temporary situation and I didn't want to react to a temporary situation. And then what I learned more and more in my search for authenticity is that I didn't set up boundaries. I didn't allow myself sometimes to admit when I was to blame for some of the issues and problems in my life, right? Especially on a professional level, not as much personal, but professionally. I allowed myself to be put in a position that I ended up maybe not being so passionate about. So I had to make some big changes, and I think all of that came from me just honing in on all of that. What authenticity was to me. So it's really about all of those things.
Yes. I hope you guys are listening because this is so speaking to me. And, talking about this time that we've had over the last couple years, I do think that, it's not just your story or my story, Sherry, but I think a lot of people had this time. I mean, in our culture, we are go, go, go. And sometimes it's not a bad thing. We're going through these motions. We are doing things that we love. We are present at times. It's not, that complete authenticity disconnect, but it's the lack of sometimes space and stillness that allow us to step back and be like, am I being authentic? Am I happy? Am I still passionate about this? Am I doing this at my best? So I think those are all amazing things. And, for those of us that are educators or looking to speak in front of people, share, there's a lot of influencers right now on social media. And I think sometimes people are drawn to us for our authenticity. And as you mentioned, like, then we kind of, whether that's that little imposter syndrome that comes in or comparing callings over here on the side that we start doing just as human beings, and we lose some of our authenticity and we almost self-sabotage when we do that because that's what people were drawn to us in the first place. So kind of going back to the start and revisiting like our authenticity and having that evolve into where we are now, I think is so huge professionally and personally.
Yeah, I had left the salon for 2 years from behind the chair. And I felt that as a full time educator, that was my calling. So for several years, that's what I did. I just did full time education. I put everything into that, my travel, my sharing, my empowering, my enhancing, and just, all of those types of things, whether it was classes or shows or whatever. But then I came to realize once all of that stopped, and the travel came to a halt abruptly. Like my calendar cleared out in like a 2 week period for an entire year of 2020, that was full through November. I realized that maybe that is what was missing. When I thought that it was something else, like, oh, I'm exhausted from travel, or oh, I feel like this is repetitious, and I'm digging this hole of repetition and redundancy. And that's when I kind of realized that no, what's missing is that pleasure, that passion, that excitement, and that reward you felt behind the chair every time you did a makeover, or you made someone feel better about themselves or look better or whatever. That smile, either it's priceless, it's irreplaceable. And so going back into the salon behind the chair has, it's been a really awakening for me as well in my authenticity, because it made me realize how much I did miss that and how much a part of that is of my happiness as well.
I mean, what a great thing to think about it just in that alone because a lot of my story as well. And several years now back, I really had the opportunity to step into a position that looked really good on paper. It's like, oh, step out from behind the chair, take this full time corporate position, and it looks great. The things that we struggle with sometimes as independent hairstylists behind the chair, retirement, um, having school get paid for. Yes, all of the health benefits, a salary pay so that if your client cancels, that doesn't affect you. So it looked really good on paper. And in some ways, I feel like I was crazy not to go for it, to push for it, but to say, I don't even really know if I want this or if this is a good fit. And I don't regret it at all, and I'm so grateful because a lot of times I think when we step into positions that we feel we're going from here to here, we're really going from here to here. And that's not bad or good, but it's just, again, that authenticity, like, is it truly gonna feed you? Are you gonna have the opportunity in that position to be a blessing to others, to create, to grow, to be stretched, to be honored, to honor others? Like, what does that look like? So sometimes I think it can look really good on paper, but again, like people being drawn to us for our authenticity and us self-sabotaging, I think sometimes what can happen, excuse me, is we take a corporate position, we step out from behind the chair, and everything that was fueling our ideas, eventually that stream kind of runs dry because it was our clients. It was our interaction and our creativity with our peers in the salon and behind the chair. Absolutely. And it took me a minute to figure that out, but, just really good food for thought sometimes when we're making those hard decisions.
right? The trust your gut. Because at the end of the day, if you really soul search and you really listen to your mind, your body, your soul, and what it's telling you, those decisions are really easily made. I think sometimes we don't listen to our own selves enough.
100%. I think anytime we move through something new, if there's not a really clear piece about it, there might be something a little off, definitely. We talked a little professionally and personally, and right now, with your permission, I'd like to get a little personal with you, because we're one person. Like we talk about, like let's separate work from personal, from everything, but compartmentalizing doesn't always work because we're one person, and at the end of the day, it's our time, it's our energy, it's our money, it's our creativity, it's our attention, it's all those things. So what are some of the milestones of authenticity in your story? Like just a couple little glimpses into, big authenticity moments for you. And where has that authenticity been challenged? Like, where were some of your specific, maybe eye opening moments and growth from those areas?
Yeah, with authenticity, you build trust, right? You build loyalty when you're very authentic to who you are and how you project. Because we had talked about, a big part of authenticity being honesty, and sometimes honesty it's a tough one because it can be really misinterpreted, and people want to sometimes make you feel like because you're being honest, you're being mean or you're being this horrible person, when it's like at the end of the day you're just being authentic and being honest in your opinions. I think that there's ways of doing that without being mean, obviously, or rude, right? Or unfortunately hurting people's feelings is a tough one because we have to remember we can't control someone else's feelings, right? We can do our best to deliver it in a way that we hope won't do that, but we can't guarantee that that's going to happen. As a former salon owner, authenticity was really key. It was huge. And I learned that really on as I was building from like 4 people team to a 31 person team. I had a full spa and I had a salon and I had a barber shop that had, working barbers and working barber chairs. And it was separate, but in addition to the salon. So it all flowed together. And, so it was really interesting. And I feel like my authenticity was tested often there, and I had to learn that I had to set some boundaries, and I had to really, again, I had to stay true to my beliefs and my morals, right, and what I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, the focus, when you have a team like that you're building, your business isn't you, your business is your team. So when you're building a team like that, you have to always remember that the decisions you make, are they going to strengthen that team? Are they going to empower your team? Are they going to enhance your team to perform, to perform at their utmost so that they're also receiving what they need? And that can be tough in your decisions sometimes because you may know what's better before they know what's better, because from experience what the outcome is. And you're like, trust me when I tell you, this is what we need to do and this is what's going to work, right? So yeah, I feel like you're when you're in that position, your authenticity is tested, quite often. And just giving that raw feedback sometimes can be really tough, but it's important. And it goes back to that, trust your gut, search for in your soul, and know that what you're doing is, you're making that right decision. Recently, on a professional level, I've worked for a lot of manufacturers and with different brands. I've done a lot of brand building over the years with different brands. And I, and one, there's always differences and changes, and then there's always those rules that apply when, like you said, when you're working with corporate brands and things like that. I've always stayed independent, which has been a nice, because I feel like that gives me a little bit more flexibility. I did have a short term role for 2 years as in the corporate world, opening up an academy and a salon. And so I will never regret that decision to do, because it taught me so much about who I am, and again, what I want from my career and what really feeds me. So I don't ever regret that. I mean, I had a really disappointing experience this year with some decisions that I made, and I had to soul search again to my true self. And then you can't always place the blame. Again, you make a decision based on things that you think are important. And then when you start really digging deep, you realize, wow, a lot of the things that I thought would be important to me, that I was passionate about, whether it be a title or big responsibilities, job descriptions, those kinds of things, you sometimes you have to take some steps back and then reevaluate and admit that maybe that you made a mistake and that it wasn't really the right fit for a lot of different reasons. If I see something going on that I really am not in agreement with, I feel it's unfair, or I feel, certain things, me enough, Drea, to know that I will always go for bat for those people. And I will always be there for them to keep things going. But then there's that flip side of it where all of a sudden you're in a position that there's a lot going on that you're not in agreement with and you are not okay with, and you do not feel that it's the right thing morally for you to stay true to who you are, and you have to walk away. And again, you have to then admit and adjust to those decisions that you made that you no longer want to follow through with, and also the destruction you left behind when you made that decision.
I think this is such an encouragement for us that have been in the industry for a while, but also for new stylists, because I think new stylist, and especially for me when I was younger, a younger person, a younger stylist, it was like, wow, I can't wait till I get to this point and then this and this and this is working and I have it all figured out. And I mean, some people might look at it as discouraging. I look at it as evolving and growth and in a healthy way, and such an encouragement that we're always figuring it out. We're always reevaluating. We're always returning to things, seeing what works for us, moving forward and revisiting that authenticity. And so if you feel a little out of sorts, you're right where you're supposed to be. And I would say develop your why early on. And that's going to change as you grow and change as a person. But developing your why, your purpose, so important, because when you lose your why, you can lose your way. And if you have it, you can always then return to it. And just as you mentioned with different companies, you were like, I just wasn't in agreement with this. And that's where you get to say, um, this isn't bad or good, but it doesn't align with my philosophy or my purpose. And then you get to hopefully, as nicely and kindly leaving as minimal destruction behind as possible, get to, move forward and do something a little different.
With minimal destruction, I think that comes with, again, you soul search, you know what's right and wrong, and it's hard sometimes to admit you make a bad decision or you make a mistake, and you just have to chalk that off as a learning lesson, and you don't become a repeat offender. You learn from that, and you don't keep repeating that same offense of like being the, okay, this is great and I'm not going to say anything because this is just too good. because sometimes you have to just step away, regardless of how good it is, if things don't fit into your, what you feel your morals are of honesty and all of that. Yeah.
I mean, admitting that admittance, I mean, that is vulnerable. And within that vulnerability, I feel like that's really brave, that's really mature. And honesty and in authenticity, although not everyone's open to that. And I do find a lot in our industry, people would rather be praised than receive that constructive criticism. And I think we've all been there because our work is special, it's personal to us. So I understand that. But what I found that's really cool is although the honesty may not always be received right away, people know where to find you later. And they usually do because then at that point, they know like authentically who you are and that if they really want to know the truth, that they can come to you. And it ends up coming full circle in a really cool way.
Yep, it's true. I think, those kind of mistake, those kind of I don't want to call it a mistake, but when you make those decisions that don't work out and you then have to face them. I mean, this can come at any time in your career. That's what I wanted to stress today. It's like, even after I've been around for a long time, I've worked with a lot of different brands. I've had a lot of opportunities, a lot of offers that I've said no to and yes to, and maybe, and let me think about it and whatever. It builds character and it builds strength. At the end of the day, it's like you have to move on. You need that balance in your personal and professional life, and if your professional life is creating unbalance in your personal life, then you need to reevaluate things as well. And that could be anything. That could be working in the wrong salon environment. If it's not feeding you and making you a better person and building your character, and you leave feeling accomplished every day, or let's say at least more often than you leave feeling unaccomplished, then it might just be that it's not the hair industry. It might just be the environment that you're in, and you might have to make a hard decision and start looking for a new professional home that you can work and create in. You know, that it could be that simple. Yeah.
So, Sherry, as you're recrafting your career in some ways, in some elements, and um, just doing things differently after your reflection and continuing to really practice this authenticity, I'd like you to share with us what are some new and exciting things that you have going right now, and what can we look forward to with just seeing things with you in the future?
I have to say, earlier you talked about like imposter syndrome. You and I have talked about that on another conversation and stuff. And I feel like, having that year plus off to just really reflect. I was doing a lot of social media things that I hadn't done before, lives, takeovers, all of this new stuff that I hadn't been doing because I was more of an educator than an influencer. Social media wasn't my catalyst necessarily. It was just sort of one of those things that just kept people in tune to what I was doing and what I was creating and that kind of thing. And I went through a really tough time. I'm going to be transparent because I think that's important for listeners that are new and starting out, or they're veterans in the industry, that this can happen to anyone. This can take over your mind and really distort things for you in a really bad way if you allow it to. And so for me, I did have a really tough time that I went through, that I really struggled with all of this, being authentic, being valued, do people really give a crap about what I'm sharing, and you go through all of that, and it's a really weird feeling that I didn't think about before. I was just going through the motions, and it was show after show. Sure, I was nervous to go on stage, and you wanted to make sure you highlighted all the right things, and you made the brand you're representing happy, and your models look amazing, and your information is valued by the people listening. After all, they're there spending their time. But I didn't have that same almost like insecurity that all of a sudden I found myself in. And I thought, there was a time that I really thought I would never get back up in front of an audience again. I thought, you know what? This has done it for me. I need to just find other things because I've worked on set. I've done editorial work. I have a new cover in a magazine that's all over my social media now, coming out. But it made me really think about that. And I really thought for a minute that I would never do that again. And then I had committed to two big shows this year, to Premiere and ABS. And leading up to it, I have to tell you, I was a wreck because I kept thinking, I've committed to this. I've sent in these formats. Now I've got to come up with a whole class. I've got to come up with valuable information that I can share that is truly valuable, that will empower and enhance what people do in the salon. What am I going to do? And I was in this, and I really, I'll be honest, I forced myself to be challenged and step up. And I thought, you know what? If I fall on my face and I fail at this, then I know that I truly am not meant to do this. If I'm successful and my classes are full and I get gold stars in the reviews at the end of the day to the show, then maybe I do still have a place on this platform. And I have to say, they were successful shows. I did two classes at ABS, two at Premiere, actually three at ABS, two at Premiere. And ABS has brought me on for four classes in 2022 at the show in April. So I've got four hands-on classes. So I'm so excited. Watch my Instagram page because I will have a link. And right now I do have a link in my bio on Instagram because I've got some courses that I did with my friend Pam Mesinger, excellent hair cutter. She did cuts. I did color placement to enhance the cuts. It's a very foundational getting back. I don't want to call it basics, but it's like getting back to the foundations of these cuts. So we did lines, layers, and graduation and complementary color. Those courses are available on the Chicago Cosmetologist American Beauty Show website, and the link is in my bio. So if you're a member of that association and you live in that tri-state area, the classes are actually free. If you are not part of that, it's a minimal charge, I think $29.99 per course. So you can get all three courses for under $100. And again, I feel like they're really a fun approach to like just getting your head back in that to that realm. And both Pam and I have done Vidal Sassoon. We've had a lot of experience as educators, and so it's a great course. So I have that. I've just aligned with a new brand. I'm going to be doing blogging for them to help build their brand. That's something I have in my resume and my bio now, is that I'm a brand builder because I've worked with enough different brands now that I've actually been able to do that, bring awareness to that brand and brand build. So I'm kind of a brand building specialist at this point, but through artistry instead of marketing, right? So that's that as well. So I'm just really trying to kind of do things like that. I've got some independent courses and classes that I offer. I'll be listing those soon for 2022. I've got maybe four booked already, but it'll pick up. Um, and so that's kind of it for me. I've got yeah, I'm planning as artistic director for Olivia Garden. We're planning a new campaign shoot, which I'm sure you'll be hearing more about, Drea, as a part of that team. I'm not sure, we don't have dates, but we're starting to put together our mood boards and things like that. So we're going in a great step in the right direction to get that done, because the last one we shot together, it's been a little over 2 years now. So it's time. So that's exciting. So we're going to be getting that done. So I'm starting to plan that. Now I'm in the beginning stages, putting mood boards together and looks and things like that that really fit the brand, and we'll promote all their new tools and all of that. So, that's something I've learned, in the last 2 years, is that you really have to learn to be able to pivot, and again, you soul search. I've done a lot of meditating, a lot more than I've ever done before. I work with an energy healer here in Houston who is amazing. She works with Tesla light therapy and the crystal therapy and all of that. And I love it because it's super homeopathic, and it really makes you engage and take responsibility for yourself. There's no excuses in that, it's all from within. So I've learned, anything can shift and change. I've learned to be patient and know that, like you said, if you manifest it and you put it out there, it will come back to you for sure. So that's kind of, staying focused and authentic at any cost. I mean, if it costs me an opportunity to stay true to who I am, I now know that that's okay. I survived it. I've already survived it in the last year. So I know that I could survive it again if that happens.
Congratulations on all of those upcoming things, Sherry. Of course, none of them surprise me whatsoever. You continue to amaze me. And the I feel like the pressure of performance, as you were talking about, it is so real. And the cool thing about authenticity is it really eliminates and minimizes that pressure to perform. So I'm excited for all of your stuff. I continue to learn from you, I continue to be inspired by you. I would really like you to kind of close us out a little bit for two things. I want to give you the last words of wisdom that you want to leave with our audience. And also, I want to know how best we can find you on all the things, like where, if we want to go support you, watch your journey, see your classes, get signed up, all the things. So, words of wisdom and where we find you.
So, as far as words of wisdom go, I'll be honest, like, again, being transparent, I've learned so much more in this last year than probably in the other 58 years of my life about that, and like you said, the importance of it in for your own like mental health and well-being. We don't even realize how much you can be affected physically, mentally, emotionally by those wrong things that we've let into our life, right? So, housekeeping is super important on a regular basis, as I've learned, not just going through the motions. And I mean, I had to make a tough decision. I turned away a big film project, and I'll be honest with you. Being transparent, there's a lot going on in our world right now, and there's just some things that I'm not willing to do, and or change about myself. And so I had to really think hard. It's like, do I want to take this opportunity, go and work on this film and, be able to get, color credits or whatever? Or I want to stay true to what I believe and what I feel and what's best for me and my personal, health and whatever. And I had to say no. And by doing that, I know that that might be the last thing that comes my way. And I'm okay with it because I've learned to be at peace with that authenticity. I think we have to really stick to our values. If there's red flags coming up, and it's out happening on a regular basis, then it's time to really, really do some soul searching about who you are and who your authentic self is, and keeping with that honesty. Never lose passion for what you do. This industry is so full of different avenues that you can take and try. And again, it can go back to the simplest things of finding a new salon home. If you're in a salon and things just aren't quite right and you don't agree with what the owner is telling you or saying, you don't think they're fair, they're honest, they have different values, that could be enough of a reason for you emotionally and physically to say it's time to move on and try and find somewhere that I will be, happy. So don't be afraid to take those risks. I think it's so important to take risks. I've learned that over the years, not just in the last two, but through my lifetime in this industry. I've learned that sometimes you have to take a risk and you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable place to really know that you're making the right decisions and who you are. It will strengthen your character and you will understand more about who you really are. So I always say, continue to take those journeys into the unknown, because those are the journeys that are going to really make you grow, as a person. So I think that that's, again, really, really important. So I would encourage everyone, challenge yourself, be uncomfortable every once in a while, out of your comfort zone, do something that really challenges you, as a person, and your integrity and your authenticity.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability, for your transparency, Sherry. It's one of the many things that I love and appreciate about you. And it really is an important testament to all of us, really. Where can we find you, Sherry?
Okay, so you can find me on IG, Instagram at Hair by Sherry P. Sherry is Cherry. Also, you can find me on Facebook at Sherry Barber Petenbrink. And I also have a website. And the website is www.hairbysherryp10brink.com.
Perfect. So there you have it, folks. Be sure to plug into Sherry what she's doing, hear more about her education, her story. If you have any questions for us and you want to kind of get plugged in any way with Successful Stylist Academy, please follow us at Successful Stylist Academy and at Successful Podcast as well. And be sure and tune in next week for an additional episode where we are always here to support you every step of the way. Thank you. And thank you so much, Sherry. See you later.